It's risky.
It's we have this famous saying. Have you seen the IT Crowd? This UK TV series. They kept very. So there is this saying that this first rule of IT is have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, it works in the 80% of the cases.
For sure. Yeah. I'm really happy that it does, because I think if you actually can't do it like that, it will become much more complicated. Yeah. So I think we're actually live. So let's bring everyone else in on our conversation. So good morning, everyone. Very much welcome to another Flash Friday. This time on the 5th of March, 2021. And I'm very much looking forward to discuss the developments in fintech today with my distinguished guest, Marek Gajda from the Software House. Good morning, Marek.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, great that you could join us. And of course, as always, we'll casually reflect a little bit on the latest news that has happened last week in the fintech domain. But of course, if you want to completely read up and understand everything that's going on, check in on our global fintech newsletter that goes out every Friday afternoon. Well, Marek, let's first start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about what you do with the Software House.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. So I am the CTO and co-founder of the Software House. We have a headquarters in Poland, and we basically are the Software House, like the name suggests. So we provide software development services for advanced development systems, basically in the model that we try to be in the very close partnership relationships with our clients. We don't really believe in this kind of client vendor model. We try to be as close together in this long-term partnerships as possible.
And should I see that also that you're not just creating projects, but you're actually a partner for development in the long term, for a longer perspective?
Yeah, that's it. We are just like a partner for the whole development team. Some clients even call us like this outsourced IT department, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. So we usually prepare this kind of I tend to call it a fully fledged agile team, meaning that there are both designers, both from the architectural software perspective and UI UX perspective, and then we can execute it with the development team and also provide a good quality assurance, which is very important right now, and deploy all the stuff and provide the whole maintenance and long-term technical leadership about the whole project and the sustainability of the solution. This is the model that we work on. We rather focus on the technology itself. So in the fintech, we are more tech than fin. But we also have a vast experience in working with a fintech fintech companies, especially in the Netherlands, because Netherlands is one of our key markets, along with UK and Finland, and so that's why we're here in the Holland FinTech.
And what kind of projects are you mostly working on in the fintech space? What kind of solutions have you built?
So we're working on either like trading solutions for banks and integrations of and moving some old rusty elements to the cloud, I would say.
Yeah.
Because fintech is full of very rusty technologies that are within the banks that you have to cooperate with, and we somehow make this kind of bridges and connections to bring the software to the next level. And we also work on the blockchain a little bit with smart contracts and this new way of distributed apps. So the apps that are completely distributed over the cloud, over the blockchain.
Okay.
And also a couple of let's say fintech startups with some nice ideas about I call it like a new user experience of financial services, right? Because this is basically what how I understand the fintech is that there is some the solutions are that are right now on the market that don't meet like users' expectations about how finances should work. It should be sexy.
And so what do you see as the biggest change there? So what can you explain a little bit what that user experience then looks like if you take that to the next level?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things. One is, as I said, from the user's perspective, users now expect all the banking and taking the loan or investing or doing everything like that to work exactly as it works with other web services like shops or email or anything like that, which is very, very, very fancy, very, very, very sexy. It's very self-intuitive, and they expect for financial services to work exactly in the same model. Whereas currently on the market, you can even have the best, let's say, you can offer the best deal, but if you don't have this nice experience that people expect, you might find it difficult to actually sell it.
Yeah. Now I can imagine. And so, do you see this being driven also by open banking, for example, where because very often that experience works well because indeed you have the right data readily available and you can make a smooth experience around it?
Yeah, that's also true. Well, open banking as I don't think open banking is so open like people believe.
We're just getting started. Yes.
Well, we were participating in one of the projects that actually implemented these PSD2 regulations to one of the big Polish banks. I cannot say the name, but I see that there are lots of gaps in the specification. Let's say of the PSD2, it's more like a very high level regulation, and each of the banks or financial institutions implement in their own way. So basically, what I see in what the open banking companies do and what value they bring is that they just go bank by bank and implement and integrate each of the solutions very individually. So there is so it doesn't work in the way that you can immediately connect to the whole world. You just have to go country by country and bank by bank.
But I think that's why there's a business model for integrators, right? So I think that's why some companies are actually just doing just that. They just try to connect to all the banks, and they create this single API that actually connects everything. And I know it's definitely not working as it should be, but I think also there, it's quite a tough job. Let's say most banks are of course still not really keen on actually doing this, because of course there's no business model attached, and so it's only a cost and providing data that actually is a liability as well. So it's understandable, I think, that it's not going that frictionless just yet.
Yeah, and this is the difference. I think right now with fintech and let's say the rest of the IT solutions like e-commerce or the SaaS models is that you have lots of this API as a service things. So there's the company specialized in one very particular things, aggregating the data, providing the API, and what they actually sell is that they don't even have any kind of project itself apart from just the API that other tech companies need to connect to some other API. And basically the fintech world right now looks in the way that you have to depend on lots of these third parties APIs and the third party services, because there's lots of regulations and lots of effort to actually do it on your own. And basically what I see in fintech companies, it's more like working on the existing solutions and just combining them together and adding this additional value to it. Whereas in e-commerce, for example, or other parts of the market, clients rather tend to build everything from scratch on their own.
Okay. And so what do you suggest? Do you think that it's better to, because I see that there's different philosophies on building software, either building it really modular and indeed relying on all the building blocks that are already existing. But some companies I also know that are really saying, no, we want to build it all up from the ground up, all by ourselves, which of course has a risk of creating a future legacy potentially as well, right? So what's your philosophy there?
So I think this is the way to go. That actually we build the state of the art of building the software right now is something called a service-oriented architecture.
Yeah.
So what we do even internally in the cloud is that we already divide our services that we build and our modules of the applications in the way that it's actually already a service that are connected to, that are just loosely connected to each other. And this way, if you have this third company that actually has also implemented it in the same philosophy of the service-oriented architectures, and you are even on the same cloud platform, it's very easy to actually integrate all those pieces because you are talking the same language. And this is I think the way that it will work in the future. But you have to, for now, you have to very wisely choose these third-party service providers. Actually, apart from investigating the service from, let's say, the business perspective and some financial experts, I always suggest that we should always also do this kind of audit or due diligence about the technical solutions that they have and check them out if they really are a good technical fit, right?
I think that's really interesting. Just like to pick up on this, because, for example, in Europe now we see that there's new regulation coming up called DORA, right? So that's about the operational resilience regulation. And what I'm curious about is let's say what my take is that I very often find that let's say financial services increasingly becoming a complex value chain of all kinds of services being tied into together and collaborating together to create the service for the end user. But how do you feel? Are we really still in control of that value chain, or is it also something that we need to develop further to really be in control? Let's say, for example, with audits, as you were just mentioning.
So I think that we still at the beginning of this road. This is just emerging thing, and but it will change over time. The good thing is that you can have you can have a couple of fallbacks here. So you can integrate with a couple of service providers providing the same thing. So we call it a vendor lock-in, right? So you shouldn't be vendor locked, right? Because this is not good for your business. So you can always find some diversifications here.
I think this is also something that actually got spurred again by the Wirecard scandal, right? Where a lot of companies found themselves too reliant on Wirecard's infrastructure that in the end turned out to be not reliable. And that you indeed want to build in redundancy from day one to make sure that you actually have an alternative should one of your suppliers fail.
Yeah, and the second thing, there's this new buzzword which I like very much is the observability. this is the pattern that we introduce in the software architectures, but actually it can be something even more than just the software architectures. By observability, I mean that you really have this kind of very helicopter view panel when you actually see what is going on in the whole infrastructure that you have. Because there are a couple of clients that came to us being really lost in their own architectures and their own infrastructures. Right? So they say that, okay, so we don't really know what is happening right now, right? There is no documentation, there's no this live real-time dashboard showing the health the health of the whole system, and showing that actually some parts are not working, right? This is the so you also need, when building the software solution, you also need to think about this kind of high-level observability panel that will allow you to see the whole picture.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. It ties a bit into also the trend of having a digital twin of a company running up, right? Where you could actually have a model of the complete business processes and monitor and dashboard them on a continuous basis to identify how your company is actually doing and where you need to push the button to change things. And I can especially imagine that in a complex software environment that's really relevant as well to create that kind of monitoring. And is that something that's easy to do from, let's say, looking back into legacy systems? I can imagine that it's pretty hard to obtain that oversight.
Yeah, legacy. So there's lots of this is one of the most technical challenges I think right now, is all those legacy systems that are there on the market that you need to integrate with, and there is always this kind of problem. So this is a challenge to put this into practice on those legacy systems, but there are already you can extract some abstract layers in these legacy systems that will actually provide you this kind of data, but it's always a very custom and individual approach. You just need a very good and experienced software architect to actually dive really deep into this code and see what you can extract from it.
Yeah, I can imagine. And so maybe also interesting to touch upon a bit on developments in AI, for example, because I can imagine that's also something that crosses your agenda from time to time. How do you see now? Do you see that AI, data analytics, and deep learning are becoming sort of standard part of your solutions that are being implemented, or what do you see developing there?
So I think that the AI right now is a little bit too much to say about the systems that are produced, because we are not right now on this level of artificial intelligence. For now, it's more machine learning, or as you say, like advanced data analytics, and people are at least in tech world. People are always very, very angry when somebody tries to use AI and machine learning as a synonyms, because this is for us this is a different thing, because well, what currently AI is like Alexa or Siri, or this kind of things that actually present you with this kind of human-like interface, so you can actually talk to or ask some smart questions, and actually you get the answers, right? So I think that this so speaking about this part, this is still in the this is still emerging thing. I'm really surprised that it's still not. I would expect that after like 10 years of Siri being on the market, I will already be able to have some nice discussion with my phone, but still I can't. but so this AI part is still in the very early process, but we are in the very much advanced progress with the machine learning and actually analyzing a big parts of data and all. First of all, this is some buzzwords for the investors. So what I see is almost every client, almost every project has to do something with the machine learning and data science. Because this is also connected with the funding, that you will get a bigger funding if you say that, yeah, and we'll also do this kind of advanced analytics. But it's still a very nice thing to have on board. I would just say that you shouldn't be data driven, but rather data informed.
So what do you mean with that exactly?
Yeah. This algorithm will bring you some information about what you should do, right? If you put lots of data there, you will get some results. But actually, there should be some human being at the end of this line reading this report and providing this human touch to this report, rather than just say, okay, so the algorithm said we should do that, so let's do that, right? And and that's the end of the story. We even have in this data science world, there are actually 3 roles. There's a data engineer, data scientist, and data analytic. So data engineer is this one doing this techie stuff and actually implementing the whole algorithm, but he creates that based on the data scientist input, which is data scientist is more like a mathematician creating this mathematical theoretical model. But always after creating this kind of model, there's this data analytic at the end, having this dashboard with the results and actually reading the results and adding this human touch and really.
It brings also the business knowledge, right?
Yeah, and bringing this business knowledge and really challenging this data if this is true or not. So it also requires some technical knowledge at this level to understand how you got this data, right? Which is quite a challenge right now. This is another term called explainability.
Yeah.
That all these AI companies are struggling with, and there were a couple of affairs about it. There's some political correctness of the results of the data.
Yeah, and so I think that's really challenging, because I think this ties into, let's say, the ethical side of AI as well as the privacy side, right? So I think. And that's where I think the financial industry has quite a big challenge, because already the expectations for privacy and data governance are already higher than I think in other industries. So you're already not, you can't really do that much with data. And then especially if you talk about transparency of the models, you can't really go that deep then, I think, as well. So there are limitations to what you can do. I think with data from that perspective, but I do believe that we're currently still in a fierce debate between regulated market players from all sides to really sort of discover where the opportunities are and how to actually balance the technical capabilities with, let's say, the ethical perspective and the societal perspective of ethics and the rules to play with. It's quite a challenge though.
Yeah, that's true, especially with the GDPR regulations. That actually there's this principle of privacy by design, right? This is how it's called.
Yep.
It's actually we're preparing the whole system. You have to already think about the privacy of the data and what should I now say to my client when I ask them, okay, so what data should we gather? And they say, all the data possible, right? It's called a data lake. So you prepare this data lake, so you actually gather all the data possible. We even do this for all of our projects, even if they don't require this machine learning from start. we already are, let's say, this AI prepared. We are AI prepared or machine learning.
Okay. Yeah.
So we already prepared this data lake with all this data to then maybe implement some analytics in the future, right? Yeah, but how to manage that with actually the regulations about the privacy, right? I think that this is still somehow unclear because most of the data there is somehow anonymized right now. You cannot. You usually prepare this data lake in a way that you cannot actually profile anybody. It's just.
But I think it is an important one, right? Because I think if you go from the time that we, especially when big data was the buzzword, everyone wanted to create data lakes. But I think now, especially with GDPR coming up, people are becoming much more worried actually to have data lakes because they become a liability. And now, indeed, you see that new solutions come up that actually anonymize data, or at least sort of secure the data, the usability of the data to a certain purpose, which already again then introduces new security around this. And I think that's really promising, because otherwise you would really have to discard of all the data and really take a much more narrower data approach if you can't secure the privacy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And
so maybe one other thing I'd just like to pick up on with you, which is also again in the news this week, was something about the quantum computing, right? So you're probably also keeping track of what's going on there, even though it's still far away.
Yeah, I still think this is some song of the future. But I see that people start talking about quantum computing right now, but I still see that they think about it just as a very, very, very fast computer, and then they will just be able to run the existing software on this quantum computer, and it will just work normally, but you just have this very, very fast computer. And this is not that. This is not true, because actually this quantum computer requires a completely different software. They built in the completely different manner than the normal software is created, and you have to combine like a quantum mechanics knowledge with software development skills. So there are not so many people around the world.
Is that likely, Marek? Because I can imagine that on a machine language level, I can fully understand that. But I would think that on top of that, we would get more, let's say, human-oriented software that already might look much more like the software we're familiar with.
So we are not there yet. Not sure where we'll be there, and also it requires a much deeper knowledge even on this higher level, because you cannot do everything in this quantum computing. This quantum computing is not a normal computing. It's a quite difficult stuff, because there are things that it can compute and there are things that it cannot compute. It's sometimes you even have to rebuild the whole model just to add one thing. And I think this is the biggest challenge with the quantum computing right now, because what we provide right now is more like an agility than a speed. And this is the way we also compose our teams, because what we see is actually in order to win on the IT market, you have to be able to introduce the changes very, very fast, right? Because I see that our projects usually like every 2 months we have some pivot or some change in the whole model, and we immediately need to react and create and make a proper improvements, amendments to the existing software, right? And with a quantum computing, this is really a challenge right now, because basically it's combined in the way that if you want to introduce any kind of change, you probably need to deconstruct the whole thing and construct it over and over again, and it will take a lot of time. this is this is something that I think would be the biggest challenge here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. I think it's getting quite technical, but I would definitely like to ask you for a good resource for people to keep track of the developments in quantum. So maybe we can, if you could give us a suggestion, we'll share that with our audience later on.
Yeah.
Time is already going quite fast. So what I just would like to ask you is, I mean, we see you active in, you said, the Dutch market, UK, Finland. But being based in Poland, I think Poland is actually also quite an advanced market with regard to financial services. What are the things there that you think are worth sharing?
The financial services in Poland, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there, I rather compared it to the US market rather than the Netherlands, because actually US market is quite I haven't realized that they are so far back in the finances, because they still use checks, for example, and this kind of stuff. Because you probably have also this, you have the mobile payments, you have this contactless credit card, like everything. So this is a common thing in Poland. All of these payments. I see that actually we are pretty advanced in that right now. Everybody uses that. We have a couple of services, and this is like a completely common thing in Poland. Not sure how it is in the Netherlands, but here you can basically pay by your phone in a small grocery down the street.
Yep. No, here is the same, and also I know that from my visits to Poland that indeed you are also quite advanced with the whole payment ecosystem. So I thought that's also nice to share. I think because I'm not sure if everyone is aware of that.
We have implemented the 3D secure 3D security is called, right?
Yep.
There's this regulation that you actually, it's like a two-factor authentication on the credit card payment level, right? And I was quite surprised that we have it implemented everywhere, and the rest of the countries actually don't. And
no, there's quite some differences there still between local implementations. But I think it's cool. In any case, I think from my perspective, Poland is definitely a market to keep track of, not just for software talent with the software house, but also I think for the developments in the fintech market itself, because I think it's quite cool what's going on there. It's quite an advanced market. But we have to wrap up already. So Marek, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you. It was very nice to be here. Good talk.
Definitely. I also really enjoyed it. Looking forward to talk with you further down the line as well. And for everyone who's listening in, thank you very much for joining in, and looking forward to talking to you again next Friday. Have a great weekend.
Great weekend.